Barbican Buffalo. Do you remember when, after a first-night party, we tapped and danced the buffalo along the tube platform and bellowed out our finale song? And how at the Barbican a station man called Singh had looked on, startled in his smart white turban, while we echoed down the tunnel, step, step, tappity step, and imagined the crowd's applause? Your forward journey took you on to New York's Broadway, mine to West End Theatreland. But what of Mr. Singh? Does he dream of Bollywood and dancers on the Circle Line? All the trains I've caught since then bring that moment shunting back. Is it the same for you? Blowing in the wind. On a scale of 1 to 7, I'm on the slide, bit like my trombone. Ensemble playing's fine, tailgate too, you growler, but solo, oh no, you're not quite good enough to blow the dust. You're just for show. It was different once, while vinyl turned at 33 1/3. I gigged with music's best, but no one heard. They're all dead now. They were all dead then. Armstrong, Bechet, Jelly Roll and Fats, and Kidori for duets, and in my later phase, Mingus, Miles and John Coltrane. But their sounds live on, jazz that says it all in notes of black and white and blue. Postcard Scene, 1910. Down the pebbled beach they trundled, horse-drawn huts splashed by breaking waves, and oh, the shame! Inside on wooden seats sat laughing seaside ladies in their bane, frilly one-piece skirted swimming suits, out of sight of men, for that was the way in the summer of 1910, when a bathing machine broke through time from a postcard scene. Love at first bite. You are sitting at the sushi bar watching food rotate. Your choice, I note, without debate, is chicken udon served with spice. Mine's a dish of that gyoza duck. I offer you a wedge of it, and you respond with pepper-seasoned squid. No names, no introductions, just the chewy contemplation of Japanese cuisine. We follow up with yakisoba prawn, then plump for plates of puffy pumpkin korokke. Our tastes have intertwined. This is now a dinner date, and the promise in your smile is of something more to come. Out of place. I met you on the train. Serene you sat in sacred isolation from our haughty heathen world, and yet still we connected for a chat. You said that you'd been born in London and had never seen your parents' home, but had heard it was so beautiful, so different from our boxed-in place. And when I told you of my North Wales mountain habitat, your bounded face lit up. Exchanging views, I asked you what would be the universal prayer of your own people in Eritrea. And you said, to seek a better space. But you could not hide the tears that welled behind your black hijab-begirted eyes. Rust never sleeps. I was a watchman once, but not the kind that sat beside a roadside hole and fed a brazier with coal. No, I was employed to repel all boarders from a scrap-bound tanker ship used by customs men to hoard their bonded goods. Of thief there was no sign, but the nightmare noise that put the fear of God in me was the pitter-pat of rust-peeled paint that fell continuously in broken time. My companions in the ghostly crew were Schopenhauer and landlocked Kant, whose learned thoughts my tutor said I needed in my head. For exercise I ran the stinking decks, while gulls from a parallel reality cackled in the sky, and added to the smears beneath my feet. Some nights, when I was bored with philosophy, I'd lean across the anchored bow and signal flash with my pocket torch at passing ships. With the little Morse I knew, I'd dot and dash, heave to, or we will fire on you. but they just steamed on as if I did not exist at all. From the world as will, I got my fill, though if the pirate men had come, what could a pile of books have done? Baby Blues. Please release me. Humperdinck in song, workman's wireless blaring for all maternity. Up the steps and down spotless corridors I wend, heavy with the burden of responsibility. Let me go. Too young to be a dad with so many hope-scattered oats unsown. Then the scene before me, she in bed and babe in arms, wrinkled face all red, peeking from the fresh-bought swaddling clothes. And out they come, those blurted words so crushingly delivered. Oh, isn't he ugly? But you grew to be our handsome prince, who inherited the world, and, more importantly, I met the greatest friend I ever had. Soc Comrade. I joined Soc at university. I am a fresher, you see, just starting my degree. They say there are a lot of women members, and free love's a political necessity. Also, I get to be called Comrade, which is cool. So there's this girl called Vanessa, Comrade Vanessa, and all I want is to possess her. After our meeting at the Bell, and several pints to break the spell, she follows me back to my student cell, my bedsit, for a bit more dialectic, and promptly falls asleep instead. Too much beer and Hegel in her head. Mine too, if truth be told. Thesis and antithesis, but no synthesis to behold. So what to do? I know. I'll sketch her, a memento on the back of Marx's manifesto. One continuous twirling line, a technique learned in art soc. Pen never lifted until Vanessa is complete. I still have her likeness, decades on. My Soc Comrade. But not in arms. Oh no, free love, alas, she never towed the party line. Baddie Two-Socks. As a child, I think I loved my dad, sometimes, when he laughed with me, but mostly it seemed I made him mad, and he cuffed me round the head or thrashed me for what I did or said. At school it was just the same, if I didn't play the game. Strictly speaking, I was to blame, for I broke the rules deliberately, hating ways they spoke to me like I was just a simple tree to bend their way. So I wore my father's gaudy socks, unmatched, just to vex, and regiments of forbidden badges on my blazer top. Rockfist Rogan fan club made me feel immune, and the boys' magic circle helped me vanish in a world of make-believe, joining the eagle comic hero Dan Dare, spaceman, in his fight to beat the evil Mekon. Against all this, for good work, I gained more points than anyone. But bad behaviour lost them all again. It was my right, you see. To cap it all, I learned to box, to protect myself and beat the playground bully thugs. But what to me was greatest fun was when I mimicked staff and found warmth of laughter with the other boys and girls. He's out of our control, the reports all said. And then I knew I'd won. Jump the Rabbit. Hear the shimmer, see the sound, laughter chastens sadness in the rhythm of the round. Hop the crotchet, coruscate, jump the rabbit, syncopate. Life's the beat of jazz, improvise. Ragtime sees you right when you conjure colour out of black and white. There is here, then is now. Don't you feel it? Wow! Diplomacy. The twist of the word when you squirt it with oil will turn on the truth and poison the soil of nations with blood that's ordered be spilled on behalf of the men who trumped up the lie. Please, not love again. Oh, my Beatrice, I am so hopelessly perplexed by your wantonness of beauty, which teeters constantly on the cusp of ugliness, when I forget to say your name the Italian way. How you taunt me, you the mortar of unattainability, as I grind those peppers of desire with the pestle of my being. You are the Claudia to my Catullus, teaser of the teased, and ever out of reach. Is that what love is all about? Must I wonder yet again? But I'll reiterate, and maybe win a smile from you. Beatrice, I love the way you say your name, the Italian way. Only women pop. A busy, bustling woman pops down to the shop. But me, well, I never pop. It's just not done, like the buttoned-up pyjama top. No poppings for the fairer sex. Men wander, nonchalantly, and may take in a pub along the way, or not. It all depends. Last spy standing. I am the 13th man, but I must confess, I'm not a superstitious spy. The 8 you didn't know about was simply everywhere. It was your belief in other people's innate goodness that kept us hidden in the box. All this political correctness, that's what made the secret stick. But now this traitor has been outed by his mortality. To find the name, Moscow rules apply. The chalk mark means you look beneath the ladder. Bad luck. Worshipping the word. With Tribrachic stutter of his poem gun, he gave it to them, all 5 barrels of iambic pentagram. Worship the word, each stanza said, romances so passé, dead, 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 gone away. And when he'd finished gutting the divine, he turned his sharpened tongue to nature and the Corydon, to nostalgia and the pastoral theme, while ghosts of Wordsworth, Byron, Keats and Shelley shuddered in their serried ranks of nodding daffodils. Howdy, we called him, the nihilist in a cowboy hat, peripatetic poet who hawked his hate in barrow-loads of pap. Still, he had a point about our high-tech lemming dash to the abyss of pornographic nothingness. Castle Oak. I was that tousled boy who tugged and shook the little tree atop the Roman tower, who should have been expelled, not just from school, but from the whole of society. But the Castle Oak lived on, too strong for a child bored with history. And still it stands, tall and straight, and like the man, now hairless, who wanted to thwart the march of time. Balloon Buffoon. Pear-shaped shadow passes over pasture, making frightened cows stampede. No milk tonight, the farmer rages, but plenty drink above, as toffs in drifting basket toast their red balloon. Empty champagne bottles come dropping from the sky to be collected by the chauffeur as he follows in the rolls. His job to pay for greenhouse damage by his master riding high. Based on a Times News report, 1908. Ring around the radio. Linked by quiet delight, they savoured Nellie Melba as she sang to them. Gran, her mum and dad, sitting in the scullery, earthed to a water pipe and wired to the washing line. The concert brought to them Ella Shields doing her Burlington Bertie bit, and Clarice Maine's infectious Joshua, as they listened through their earphones, ringed around the crystal set. No need for electricity. They had the Whisker radio 90 years ago, and the family planned their seaside holiday with maps to tell them where the best reception was. Resorts of Blackpool, Cromer and Llandudno could all receive the time-check pips beamed out from Daventry. And now, generations on, the good old BBC still transmits to me, digitally. Sundays. When Clint was rowdy, on black and white TV, and Dad laughed staccato at Quickfire Sergeant Bilko on dull Sunday afternoons, and wallowed with Hancock on the wireless set. And when ice cream chimes stood in for cinema silhouette of usher popcorn girl who weekday evenings showed us to our seats by torchlight, I preferred to be outside, catching grasshoppers, and wondering at the way they leapt, and how their colour varied to match the fields of weeds. And now they're gone, tarmacked by earthbound crunch and press of time. But you can still see repeats of old TV, or resurrect the mournful mirth of Tony Hancock on hissing steam sound radio. Walking on the wind. With rasping sighs, the breeze-brushed branches fling their russetness through churning skies to crust the ground with autumn's pall, a detritus to delight us in the coughed-out calm that follows squall. And then, oh glory be the warmth of sunshine roding through the now still stands of starkled trees, as fussed by feet, the crispiness of leaves, fumes breathed in air with bitter nuttiness. Blank canvas. The hardest thing, I always think, is making that first move, seizing the moment of the mood, for blank stands the canvas, yearning for the beat of colour, that signal of intent. Imagine you're behind a microphone and must sing that opening phrase unrehearsed, or slide into the trombone blow, but then you know it can only be in blue. So you stand at the crossroads, palette winking paint, every wodge represents a go. Now dare you be a Daniel? Go on, improvise, extemporize. Oh, just get on with it, aim the gun and shoot. With that first precision dab, you make your mark. Select your ground. All things stem from that one shape. Now burdened with destiny, that little dot of paint is a challenge to the pristine whiteness, urging its response. But this attack is just too tentative, too subdued. And then you see in your mind's eye how other artists painted with such relish. How then to emulate the lunge and plunge of Pollock, or slash and parry of other paintbrush swordsmen? No, re-begin with swash and buckle gusto, shouting now, take that, you snivelling canvas, splash into the turpentine, wallop into the globs of paint, frantic flourish on the palette, and then fierce stabs of colour on the wretched cowering surface. The spell is broken, sickly inhibitions roll away. You grab the biggest brush and fall upon the easel with a blind and berserk fury. Breathless, you stop to view the carnival of carnage, to inspect your desecration. But now a new, more subtle force has come upon you. This won't do, you say. Change gear, select another mood, more serene. Call it indigo. Picasso would have approved. So you slop and prod with bristle brush, and shapes take form like burnt sienna blushings you may see in the fresh-cut section of a tree. Then your mind begins to wander, straying into strange places like, why do women hug cushions? I tried once and felt a fool, so I placed it behind my head and slept instead. Now the moving, moody brush has fashioned you a smiling face. A young girl, you think. You're Mona Lisa, who just knows that bilateral symmetry is so boring. Turned on. Twice each year, when seasons changed and clocks went to and fro, the lampman cycled down our street and tilted at the lines of lights with his long-hooked time-switch stick. We always heard him come, for as well as his switching lance, he carried a breezy song. The naughty lady of Shady Lane had the town in a whirl. But the words, come hither glances, were lost on the mind of a child. Overcome with curiosity, I climbed the fence one day and leaned across to open up the lamppost box and heard it tick inside. Reaching out to change the hour, for a bit of devilment, I felt an eel run up my arm, which gave me quite a shock. So turned on I was that I tried it out at home, unscrewing switches of brown Bakelite and poking fingers in. Blow me if I didn't get a buzz from that. Soon we two brothers competed for a dare, counting as we did to win a shock endurance game. The lights went off when I got to 6, and Mum called out the ambulance. We never chanced it after that, but still today the current flows and sparks my life electrically. Now the only tingling that I get is from a shady lady's smile, a come-hither glance to light the world and me. Budding Schopenhauer. The world was my idea, the amoeba said, dividing and multiplying with no ethical sense at all. Shades of You. At night, when you're away from me, I start to paint your memory, how you seemed to me in pastel shades last day we met. Sometimes acrylic's best, or stark black lines of ink to plot the jagged mood I'm in. You see, when I paint or draw, we're all the one, a passion mild and intricate, born on my palette. And if my sable brush should dally on your face, or other regions of your naked form, I feel your presence too, for that's the art of love. Offbeat. You play it like this, 'cause it's the wrong note song. You write it like this, 'cause it's the wrong word rhyme. You do it like this, 'cause it's the wrong way line. But set it to time, and the rhythm's sublime. Never ask. I tell myself, never ask an actor what he's at. Never ask a writer what's the plot, especially if she knows you also write. Never ask a poet what he's rhyming, or an artist what she plans to paint. They'll never tell the truth. And so we sit together, my friends and I, and contemplate our silence, not daring take that extra drink which might give sudden way to our ego-anchored tongues. The Iceni Way, 1955. In line abreast they come, yellow dozers licensed to destroy, pulverizing history into rubble. Demise of a stately Tudor home, on whose creaking polished floors we two brothers had once played. But now that imperious advance claws out the bricks and clay and uproots noble oaken stumps to scoop and ladle man-made dross into the ancient, living-breeding stretch of pond. And on the other side, scores of frightened, warty, hump-backed, orange-bellied newts, the rarest kind, scramble up the bank to flee their shrinking home. There we meet them, we young boys, conservationists of another age, and scoop the fleeing evits into buckets, bowls, and jam jars, then cycle off to safer habitats, out of bureaucratic reach of the compulsory purchase men. That Sunday next, a gang of angry, nature-loving boys and girls descend, oh so stealthily, on that deserted building site, to lay it waste in a Baudusian orgy of great-crested newt revenge. Come back, Catullus. So, Catullus, you wrote a lot of near-the-knuckle stuff. couched in rhythms that defied analysis, chasing your lesbia with the urgent relish of iambic and trochaic time. Sex to you was the measure of your effervescent age, all of 2,000 years ago. That will to shock still seems so relevant, as does your odyssey through the grossness of Roman high society, whilst civil wars and Caesars seized the day. Now it is we who endure such tribulation with equal need for desperate diversion. So, Catullus, grab us by the short and curlies. Tell us how to conjugate the truth, as patrician politicians defecate their circuses of lies. Rubula Rees. Into the house the hardy man came from the field. No word was said as he stomped his mud boots on the slate-slatted floor while his wife fussed over his tea. No word was said as he tore at the bread with his split-spaded nails, clay-grouted from scrawping potatoes all rain-sodden day. No word was said, not even a sound, as she watched her man eat, her thoughts not of pity or even disgust, but of pride and of dread, for his new job next week was under the ground. No word was said, but she knew that each day she'd pray for her mining man's safe return. Then, as he supped at his tea, their eyes challenged and held in a love that would meld them as one. "Don't worry, my dove, I'll always be coming back home to thee." 3 wavering notes the bugler blew, and the quarrymen ran from the cave. The Clogwyn walls repeated the sound with the surge of an echoing wave, and then a great hush, as the rockmen readied the charge. The first blast came with a rumbling thump, and a tumble of slate, as the heart of the mountain broke with a quake. When the dust cloud rolled from the cavern's wide moor, one fearful shout was joined by a roar. "Where's Rees?" they cried. "We saw him before." His body was found, crushed by the slate. Poor Rubula Rees had been too deaf to hear from time at the front, with World War in his ear. Gareth Rubula Rees, Blaenau Festiniog, North Wales, 1894 to 1926. Shadows on a Wall. Now that I am alone again, I yearn for days when fair was fair, and the russet rustle of a 10-bob note meant we had enough to share, and when seasons came and went unchanged by calamitous event, and when my brother lay across from me and fiddled with his torch, while we made shadows on the wall, unafraid of father, who'd fought a war that made him hurt us all. And now at night I know my friends are there for me, their faces caught in that consoling beam of light. Getting on. Will I be dragged away one day to join old ladies playing bezique and drinking tea with woolen rugs across the knee? Will I be wearing cast-off clothes too good to throw away, yet fitting now I've shrunk? And will those in charge address me patronizingly with the plural we? "How are we today?" they'll say, and I will think, "Times were better yesterday. You should have known me then, bitch." Hot gossip. June came in May. You brought to me this skimble-scamble and scuttled off with shielded grin. That cleft-stick message was your savoured joke for the day. But what you didn't know, June was here in April too, and July. My friend, you were too old to spy, but I miss your company. Whisperer. Ears dipped forward, heads lowered to her face, they revel in the voice. Soft, caressing, teasing and cajoling, sharing sounds of solace. They understand. It is a mingling of the soul. She speaks to them in Welsh, whispers of the mountain wind, of laughter borne on water as it ripples over rock. The horses understand and breathe with the same inward breath. They are as one. Hiraeth. Although we never loved, you gave me strength when I was lost, and showed me other ways to live alone once more. I came to you at Croesaw, and found a welcome only Wales can give, drawn back by rock and stream and memory of glowing mountain light. Born on Moelagest, I longed to see once more that rugged sharp profile of dark Canicht, and climb the path to Trivan, or cross Crib Goch in snow, and row the Menai Strait, then feel the wash of rain, knowing that the sun would shine on me again. Hiraeth means a yearning for one's place of being, a Welsh word. Curtain call. From apron platform range, he opened up, and sprayed the audience with calligraphic singing voice, words precisely formed with scalloped vowels and cleated consonants. Legs firmly planted on the stage, he took his bow and modestly absorbed our bravo cries. Next day we saw him gliding down Main Street, caped and wide-brim hatted, hands cupped to receive the adulation of his fans. Beyond the rest of us, his art, his voice, his grace, Basil Lovage, the programme said, baritone, on loan from the world's great stage. Watchers. Mizzen tail held high, the distant watcher sidestepped on the branch, prating all the while, drawing other magpies to its grandstand view. Soon there were two, but not for joy, with what they had in mind. Sorrow beckoned to the object of their Gorgon gaze. For on the broken bridge below, another bird of black and white flitted through the morning mist, bearing shags of moss to chosen nesting site. The shapely little dipper that curtsied constantly would never live to see the hatching of her eggs. Cave paintings. In vans and trucks marked chocolate, the old masters came in convoy, Wales their destination from galleries of blitz-hit London town. Churchill's orders said they must be safely stored in caverns deep beneath a mountain, away from Hitler's undiscerning bombs. Slate mines of Blina became their hiding place. Blake's Mad King of Babylonia, alongside Van Dyck's Charles I, on horseback, underground. Now they're all back home again, hanging in the light, at the National and the Tate, dusted down and shining, until the next time round. Rhythm of a dive. Check the pressure, check the depth, time is creeping on, switch off the torch, concentrate. Finning slowly through the forest, fronds of fucus waving by. Follow weaving conger to its clefted hideaway. Keep well clear. Now it watches from the blackness. Paranoia. Time to end the dive. Follow bubbles upwards to the light. Stay alive. Cold War Gran. The day that Gran changed sides took us all completely by surprise. Listening at the wall, tapping messages with her walking stick, talking to the Russians. Her Cold War madness, brought on by a tiny stroke, made her, briefly, a double agent. But a bit of basket work in the local shrink resort cured her of all that nonsense, and she became a citizen again, saner than the rest of us. The Russians had retreated from our Welsh hillside home. but elsewhere the spies spied on. In the biblical sense, alone in a hotel room, I turned to Gideon and read myself to sleep. But disquiet came in dreams of threesome romps with Ruth and Jezebel, and when I cried out, "Rachel!" all hell broke loose. Parrot vote. On the stump I was, touting for their number one, candidate of independent air, who dreamed of fixing life for people left behind. "Vote for me," was this man's mantra as he knocked and waited at the umpteenth door. No response, so to the back instead, and there it was, blue parrot in a cage, drowsing in the midday sun. What politician would miss that opportunity? "I'll teach it to speak my name for all to hear." "Vote Neal," I said to it repeatedly, forgetting that Neal sounds like no to an Irish-speaking bird. And then, eventually, sitting by the cage, shirt and feathers blue on blue, I fell asleep, to be wakened by a raucous crooning from the perch above my head. "Vote Neal! Vote Neal! Vote Neal!" Who said democracy was dead? Endorsement from a parrot was no Monty Python joke. Pike. Just look at him. Those flanks of willow green stencilled by the sun. Forward mien of mouth that harbours so much grudge. You've got to sock it to him, old Esox, reaper of the river. He's the villain you just love to hate. How we anglers flatter him, with spinner, fly, and plug, and even living bait, but he taunts us all by moving in on worm or crusty bread, intended for more dainty pluckers of the hook. Pathfinder. Your moon-path home shines through the mossy mignant, bogland safely marked in times long gone by hardy men with hefty stones of quartz. But beware the glower of glowworms showing out on scattered heather clumps. They are the wrecker's lamps luring you astray. Not quite legless. He lay in bed, carving chess pieces from the wood of his false leg. He knew he'd never have the strength to walk again. Life from then would be a different game, more skilled, and thus fulfilled. Ye shall not laugh. Why is there no humour in the Bible? Is the joke a cosmic one? I asked a rabbi once, "Look at the book of Amos, you'll find it there," he said. 7 times I read the script and still could not divine the fun, not without his faith. Though by all accounts, in Sodom and Gomorrah, they knew how to laugh. Ever and ever. Feel the camel's pitching roll, articulate the yaw, lean into the hump, stare before, fix the eye on the next June ridge, horizons where it meets the sky. Feel the wind-blown rhythm of the sands, grasp that green's a colour you can only think, that running water's but a dream. Count the desert particles to keep the mind in sync. There has to be an end to all of this, just has to be. Tiger on the doorstep. Being with you was such ecstasy, as if all tenses had become the one, passions pulling silken threads of past, present, and a future into a triptych of ourselves. But then a blackened quirk of chance carried you away, and I was left bereft of that better part of me. Until the night I saw, lighting up my doorstep, the incandescent colours of a garden tiger moth, reminder that your beauty had never left this earth. Another Bridget. I knew a Bridget once. She wore a cape each day to hospital where her sick patients lay. At night she spread it on her bed and led young men astray. Doctors, students, they all came to her to be shown the way to love. Afterwards she used that cape to shield her child from life's mistake. But precious as he was to her, she lost her little joy. His life was not to be, and like a dainty hatching mayfly lasted but a day. Instead of tearing up her life with tears, this Bridget returned to the island of her birth, and spread again her cape over those whose lives, through illness, had been ordained a determined end, and in hospice found the love and care of Bridget, Saint. Odd Izzy, 2001. It was as if old Moog had dined on magic mushrooms. His usual forensic stutterings, his castles of bricked-up syllogisms, seemed to lack the premises of probability. He was telling us what his friend Izzy had said just before he died. "Will I dream, Moog, when I am deactivated?" Skyfall. Anticipating Ronan's curse, Sweeney climbs the tree, but fails to see a woodman sharpening his axe. No way will he escape his destiny. Music of Antrim. Bring her the harps and hammered dulcimers of dreaming County Antrim. Let music be the swirl of mist enfolding memory with time. Still, from a continent away, she sees blue-knuckled hills, cuffed by lush of trees, and puffs of dirty gun-smoke cloud curling in the breeze. But for those plucked sounds, she would be blind. Get out of my garden. Like high-noon cowboys squaring up to death, two cock robins sing their fearsome song to terrorize for territory. Only one can win his choice, the other banished from the garden by his discordant voice. Skywalker. I found you as the sun came up, walking with your wings, and tumbling down each step as you teetered on the edge. And when I took you in my hand, you clicked your tongue and trembled with the rhythm of a tiny beating heart. Drops of sugared water helped, I think, before I brought you up a ladder to the hole your parents used as access to their rooftop home. I hope they didn't give your lugs a tweak for doing a runner down the stairs while they slept on, you little long-eared bat. Into the gully. Led on by screaming officer with stick and pistol gun, we did the chicken run, knowing bullets couldn't carry all the names we had. Pals beside me paid the debt, but I charged on, drawn by thrust of my own bayonet, and I was through. Shrapnel Gully they called the valley, Sniper's Alley I'd have said. We were the Anzacs, 9th Battalion, A Company to be precise. Sergeant me, from Wales, not an Oz. I just went there for a job, but this war came up, and I volunteered to do my bit. Wearing glasses made no differ. They said to me, "You'll carry a rifle, cobber, like the rest of 'em." Gallipoli's an awful place. The Dardanelles all the hells in one. I was seasick when we landed. So much noise from whiz-bang shells and gun. No time to think. Just move on. Kill the Turks, or they'll kill you. Who's king? Whose country? I don't know. Are you safe at home? Are the Turks in Sydney yet? Or up my North Wales mountain chasing sheep? The telegram you're reading now says missing believed dead. No one knows where I rest my head. Just another body in the gully. The war that didn't end all wars. Think of me when you buy that poppy. It's the colour of our blood. James Muncaster Lovett, 303, Sergeant, Infantry, 9th Battalion, South Australian Regiment. Missing believed killed. Last seen escorting prisoners, Shrapnel Gully, Dardanelles, April 25th, 1915. Gallipoli Peninsula. Slaughter of the Innocents. R.I.P. Ear trumpet. When their neighbours complained of the noise, my old uncle and aunt were forced to move out. But they found a new home by the sea, where deafening waves bore their shouted sweet nothings away. I still have the trumpet, with handle and all, which blew their affectionate yells. Percy and Jess, your lives were a fanfare of love. Too wet to woo. We shared a great hope when we met in the rain, two people who talked of things that went wrong in the beautiful game. One brolly she had to fend off the shower, but when the wind tugged and cast it afar, we parted and ran, wet strangers again. The passion flowers beside the bed failed to make complete the night she couldn't sleep for fear she wouldn't wake from pills that beat the pain. But still they had each other for that longest year together, long enough to know how wrong the poet's rhyme that death does greatly please, as we pick our way through lichen-measured time. Alpha and Omega. Your unctuous cat declares its presence Greekly, referencing the coefficient of viscosity, then slimes away lubriciously, all green platonic stare, and leaves behind its sticky plaything, still warm, yet bereft of any destiny. Foxglove fish. Digitalis purpurea, your litmus red appearance is the acid test which marks the first sea trout run, foxglove sentinel, whose bugle call of colour summons up the fish. Turn now the tide. Welcome back the springs of returning tide, of life once more shared with someone else. Waves of such gentle clash that meet and mingle, fondly coalesce, bringing brightness where once sadness sucked out all the light. Drench me with the honey of your soothing voice, lift my soul so high it joins you in that self-same song, duet of swelling happiness, riding on the surf of love. Catcher in the sky. Word is, brother, you've moved on, gone to another place, left no forwarding address. But I know otherwise. You see, you're still with me in my mind. I just have to close my eyes. Others say they saw you looking peaceful after all those tests, and later you were carried off, quite ornately, as the compliments kept coming, like cake, to a cricket commentary box. But you're there, out in the field, at deep backward square leg, waiting for the catch. Riding high. You could tell the land had once been flooded, for there were horses in the trees. Now just skeletons, they hang askew, unstrapped saddles on the bareback branches, reminder that in death there's no nobility. Tumbling down. Through the skylight, I see sheep staring down at me when I awake. Really, it's no joke, for my cottage hangs along a slope. Springtime's best when acrobatic lambs flounce around the roof, and daffodils stand in for the yellow of the morning sun. But now the farmer's sold his flock, and grows the grass to make gigantic bales of winter fodder feed. So steep the slope, the ricks of Weetabix roll off and tumble past the roof while I'm asleep. Will my nightmare obit say he died in bed, crushed by a ton of hay, or that the ceiling broke, and he and silage plunged to the kitchen range below to be consumed, Viking style, in a blazing funeral pyre? Oh, please, let no more be said. Vinegar Hill. When the peregrine stoops on Vinegar Hill, the people will rise to be free. So the soothsayers said, but they failed to tell of the blood that would spill over Bright Summer Rock as whole families fought with their hands to be equal to all other men. You may see that falcon today as it sweeps the red sky with wings that spread hope to a world that still strives to be free. But best you beware, for when the peregrine stoops on Vinegar Hill, the people may rise yet again. To the brave people who died on Cnoch Fuin y Gwir, Vinegar Hill, Enniscorthy, County Wexford, Ireland, in 1798. Begging now. Are you just my sometime friend, one who switches on and off like a storage heater in the night? Or do you really mean it when you say you do? Talk is cheap. Action speaks louder, and we get enough of that each time we meet. But I'm getting tired of missing you when you're away, living that other life. I'm yours. Be mine, this time, for all time. Please. Oh, all right. I'll try another tack. You are the shadow of a butterfly pinned to my mind by the noonday sun. Or maybe, beauty shrinks the debit side of youthfulness. Yes, these are my best chat-up lines, I'll admit. But I really do mean what I say. Please believe me. Desperate now. I'll take the test. A falling blossom only touches lips that lie. I'm safe here. Spring is still a whole winter away. Muscleman. 137 muscles lay opened at his feet, dredged up that day from the fringes of Loch Ness, and not a pearl in one. Dead swan muscles, but living still, his greed. Duck call. So no more to be heard the sucked-in whistle of this wild teal bird, felled from sky by scattered shot above wetland slob, and gathered up in gentle jaws of black retriever dog. So no more down of wispy chestnut brown. This silenced duck lies naked pink, plucked and stuffed with apricot, all ready for the pot, casseroled to be consumed by wingless, grounded, civil man. Single-handed. One arm hung loose as he walked, fingers stretched to grasp another. It was the way he always went, relentless trudge of a man whose life was once complete. But birds still sing, and quicksands shift to hide the moment's print. How she clung to him, as hip to hip they strode, unaware of jealous time's calamitous approach. But birds still sing, and quicksands shift to hide the moment's print. And now he tilts his head and smiles towards the empty dangling hand. For birds still sing, and quicksands shift to hide the moment's print. Mr. Softy. The chimes of Mr. Softy blend in so well with the tolls of morning mass, but ice cream marks the wafer-thin division of this community. Armed graffiti badges walls beside the road that falls along the line that tells us who we think we are. So let's all queue together and buy a cornet and make believe we live in peace. Written after a visit to Belfast in the sad old days. River Song. Listen, it's night time by the river, when sights all come as sound. Those scuffles, rustles, swishes, snaps, as otter, fox and badger, stoat and bankside vole go about their round. And when the shoving sea raises streaming water high and tames its gurgling pearl into a smooth and gentle whirl, and when its skin is broken only by sipping trout sucking down a fly. But soon with dawn the time will come when tide begins to draw away, and the swoosh and gush of unimpeded downstream flow will bring again the music that I have learned to see and know. Casting. I love the swish and wish of casting for a fish. Up 2, 3, down 2, 3, like giving a salute, the officer a trout you're wanting to impress. Ratchet on the reel, corncrakes in the field become a buzzing bee when brown is hooked through rod and line to me. Learning curve. The sparrowhawk, fierce of orange eye, barred feathers rufous, blue and white, stood sedate, centre stage, on a branch above the barn. Beside her dithered 2 young ones, stage right. Below, as 'twere, on apron front, a rabbit munched and sniffed and hopped a bit, but never once looked up. The scene was set. Missing, though, the buskined hero belting out his tragic monologue. Now, watch on. With sideways sliding glide, the hook-beaked mother hawk hangs above the furry innocent, yellow legs and claws thrust out, and shows the way to pounce. Children follow suit, clumsily, and then back off, mewing like the cats they definitely are not. 3 times they perform this act, and then fly off together. Hunting lesson dusted, done. Exit rabbit, stage left, not even chased. Life's a game. This time. Love's velocity. It was not just the look of you that did for me, not your eyes, your voice alone. It was your presence. It took a millisecond for me to know I was in love. Of course, I doubted my own sanity. Pragmatism said, get a grip on reality. But afterwards you told me you were smitten too. And then I woke. I knew it wasn't true. Guardians of time. I saw the wild geese standing in a hilly stubbled field where once a church had been. So still they were, like tilting silhouettes of broken stone, spaced apart and facing to the east. Guardians of memory in a cemetery of old, people long, long gone, their lives but a jiffy in the universe of time. Then suddenly the birds just upped and flapped away in staggered line across the pleated moonlit sky. It was as if they'd never been. The church and graveyard, just a note in books of history. Prickle. Oh, why did I ever start to count your freckles? It's not because you have so many. It was just my way of testing boundaries, having a bit of fun at your expense, as you're always doing to me. How was I to know that you'd declare a war of independence, wave the flag of spots and stripes, want to rule the world? What was I to do but make myself a controlling state as well, the hammer and sickle one? Our Cold War has just begun. Which one of us is going to join the CND, give up the deterrent, and make peace again? It won't be me. What shall it be? Jock Scott looks good. I like the colour. I'll try this one, and tie it to the line. No, hold on. Thunder and Lightning might be more the thing. The names are what pull me in. Now, a Hairy Mary might just do it, or maybe a Silver Doctor will cure my indecision. I shall be all day on the river bank, so perhaps I'll change the fly each cast until the salmon gets as hooked as me. Day of the Dinosaur. Is there a fine place outside our own world where people can grow from their mortal mistakes? Aristophanes held so 2 millennia ago, though his fanciful birds and his wasps and his frogs made comical conflict seem more than the norm. But the chorus still asks if ever we'll learn. Better the dinosaurs had stayed to save Earth, though terror of kings is a gene that lives on. Understanding Godot. If you conate like Lucky on a rope, and relate a camogie glide, or skate stark naked in the stocking feet, you'll cognate effectively and find the key to Godot without a pause too long. Still confused? There's no end game here. You have to do the play the Beckett way.